Have you ever felt like you're navigating a maze? Where the rules seem unclear, maybe even stacked against you. It's a feeling a lot of us know, especially when it's about your health, your livelihood. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly one of those systems, the sometimes controversial world of second opinion medical exams. These happen within the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, OWCP for short. It's a key part of federal workers' comp claims under FECA, the Federal Employees Compensation Act. Our mission for you today? Well, it's to unpack how these exams are supposed to work versus how they often play out. We want to expose some common issues, the controversies, and really equip you with the knowledge you need to understand and hopefully navigate this effectively. So let's start at the beginning. OWCP has the legal power, it's right there in the statute, to make injured federal employees go for these medical exams. When do they usually order one?
Well, typically it's when maybe your own doctor's medical evidence isn't seen as quite enough by OWCP. Or maybe they just need clarification on things like, what caused the injury, the best treatment, how much you can work, or the level of impairment.
Okay.
It can also happen if you've been on disability for a while, or if you request surgery. Or sometimes it's because OWCP feels the reports from your treating doctor lack what they call rationalized medical support. Basically, enough detailed reasoning.
Right, the why behind the opinion.
Exactly. Now, what's really interesting, and often where the friction starts, is how these supposedly independent doctors get picked. See, OWCP doesn't employ its own doctors for this. They contract out.
Contract out. To who?
To private medical referral groups.
Right.
These companies find and schedule the physicians. The doctors themselves have to be administratively qualified, so board certified or credentialed specialists in the relevant field.
Makes
And while OWCP uses a system, a physician's directory system, to find these doctors, their own rule book, the procedure manual, explicitly says a strict rotation isn't required for second opinions.
so they have flexibility.
A lot of flexibility. Now, a 2018 Inspector General audit did look into this. They noted OWCP's contracts have quality assurance steps and found processes designed to give, quote, reasonable assurance of qualified, impartial doctors. They didn't find systemic bias.
Okay, so that's the official audit finding. But, and this is a big but, right, despite the official procedures, many claimant advocates, people representing injured workers, they really question how independent these doctors truly are. What's going on there?
Yeah, it really boils down to perception versus the practical setup. I mean, think about it. These doctors are paid by OWCP via those contractors, and they often do a lot of these exams. One law firm that handles these cases points out the doctor doing the exam often has an extensive history with OWCP. Sometimes OWCP referrals become like their main source of income.
Okay, I can see how that might raise eyebrows.
Definitely. It leads to this feeling that certain doctors become regulars. And the worry is their reports tend not to be very helpful to the injured worker. Maybe they even seem designed to find reasons for OWCP to cut off benefits.
Are there examples of this?
There was an anecdote from a congressional hearing back in 2000. 3 federal workers in Memphis, all with stress claims, got sent to the exact same psychiatrist, out of state no less.
Wow.
When an attorney questioned this pattern, a claims examiner apparently told him he was opening a can of worms. It certainly suggests, it suggests something isn't always straightforward.
It really does. So even if the process looks clean on paper, the perception for many is that it's not truly impartial. And it's not just who gets picked, is it? You mentioned OWCP influences the exam itself. How does that work?
Right. It's also about how the exam is framed. Before the appointment, OWCP puts together what they call a referral packet and sends it to the doctor.
A referral packet? What's in that?
This packet is critical. It includes a Statement of Accepted Facts, the NEF. That's OWCP's summary of the accepted conditions and injury details. It also has a list of very specific questions the doctor must answer.
Must answer.
Yes. Plus relevant medical records from the case file, and specific OWCP forms, like the OWCP-5C for work capacity.
Okay, let's unpack that. By controlling the SOS, the summary of facts, and setting the specific questions, OWCP can really steer the focus of the whole examination, can't they?
They absolutely can guide the narrative.
Yeah.
And they expect a certain kind of report back.
What kind is that?
They need that rationalized medical report we mentioned. Conclusions have to be backed by solid medical reasoning, not just short answers. And the report must address every single question OWCP asked.
And what if it doesn't?
Well, OWCP's nurses or medical staff scrutinize the report when it comes in. They check it's on time, usually within 30 days and complete. If the doctor missed a question or gave a wishy-washy answer, OWCP will push back. They'll ask for clarification, an addendum. They can even threaten to withhold payment until they get a report they deem satisfactory.
That's, well, that's quite a bit of control. How far does that influence go, though, beyond just getting the questions answered?
Well, think about the quality control side, too. OWCP's district medical directors, the DMDs, they monitor the overall quality. They can recommend kicking physicians off the list if their reports are consistently late, incomplete, or considered unreliable.
Unreliable. Officially, that's about quality and timing, you said?
Officially, yes.
Yeah.
But the concern among claimants is whether unreliable could subtly include doctors whose opinions tend to side too often with the injured worker.
I see.
The doctor knows OWCP is the one paying, and that the report will be closely reviewed. A Postal Workers Union publication pointed out that many of these referral doctors get very good at writing reports that survive legal challenges.
Meaning they know what OWCP wants to see.
Pretty much. They know the arguments OWCP might use to limit or deny a claim, like blaming things on pre-existing degeneration or saying a work injury only caused a temporary problem. This puts the injured worker's own doctor, who's focused on treatment, at a disadvantage if they aren't used to writing in that same super detailed, almost defensive legalistic style.
So it's not like direct tampering, but more a system of selection, framing questions, and quality checks that together tend to produce reports that meet OWCP's needs. What does this actually feel like for the person going through it? Despite OWCP saying these exams are just a neutral check and balance, what are the big worries we hear from federal employees and the people representing them?
The overwhelming feeling, really, is that these exams are biased against the claimant. It's just observed so often that OWCP seems to always take their doctor's word over the claimant's treating physician.
Especially if the OWCP doc is a specialist.
Exactly. If the OWCP-selected doctor is a board-certified specialist and writes one of those well-rationalized reports, that often carries the day, tipping the scales against the worker. The National Association of Letter Carriers, the NALC, they noted these reports often challenge not only the findings of the attending physician, but also the injured worker's own perception of their injuries. That really hits home for people.
We talked about those network or regular doctors earlier. Can you give us a bit more on that alleged pattern of bias? Any other examples?
Oh, absolutely. Attorneys and union reps, they talk about identifying certain doctors who repeatedly conduct OWCP exams and whose reports almost always lean towards cutting or stopping benefits. One law firm, Harris Federal, mentioned this recurring coincidence where the same doctor pops up again and again, and their reports just never seem to favor the worker.
Never. That sounds pretty definitive.
It does. And remember that congressional testimony example?
Yeah.
The psychiatrist in Mississippi getting cases from another state?
Yeah.
And apparently ruling for OWCP every single time? The person testifying inferred, it's a setup, knowing the decision they'll get. It creates this deep suspicion.
That's really concerning. And it brings up another point people complain about. How long are these exams actually? Are they thorough if they're often criticized for being so short?
That's a huge one, yes.
Okay.
A very common complaint is that the exams are incredibly brief, sometimes just minutes.
Minutes. Really?
Yeah. A former union official talked about clients being in and out in 10 minutes. Sometimes the doctor barely laid a hand on them. Now, OWCP's own manual says 30 minutes is sufficient for many exams, but a retired OWCP claims examiner estimated something stark. Like 85% or more of these second opinions lead to work restrictions or full-duty releases. And it's not unusual for the exam itself to last maybe 15 to 30 minutes max.
But OWCP says they review files beforehand, right?
They do, and that's their counter-argument, that doctors spend significant time on file review before you walk in the door. But that short face-to-face time, it really feeds into the feeling that the doctor isn't truly listening or engaging with your actual condition.
And what about reports that people say are just wrong, misleading?
Yeah, that's another layer of frustration.
Yeah.
People sometimes allege the report totally misrepresents what they said or did, omits important things they mentioned, or just twists their words.
Any examples there?
There's a striking story from a federal workers' comp specialist about a postal worker. 6 different doctors agreed he needed surgery.
6. Okay.
Then he sees the OWCP second opinion doctor. Exam lasts a few minutes. The report comes back. Fit for duty, benefits cut off.
Wow. Just like that.
Outcomes like that fuel this sense of rubber stamp denials. It feels like saving money becomes the priority over actual medical care.
So look, we have to be fair. Not every single OWCP second opinion is negative or biased. That's important to say.
Absolutely not.
But the cumulative experience for many federal workers is clearly negative. It creates this adversarial vibe, which seems totally at odds with FECA saying the process isn't supposed to be adversarial. So the big question for you, the listener, when you're facing an exam like this, how can you possibly navigate it? Okay, so OWCP decides you need a second opinion. Understanding the nuts and bolts and your rights, that seems critical. How are you notified, and what can you do to get ready?
Right. OWCP has to notify you, the injured worker, by letter. And this is really important. They must also notify your authorized representative, if you have one, like an attorney or union rep.
And if they don't tell your rep,
That can actually invalidate the exam results. There's a key case on that, the Donald J. Knight EC-CAB decision. Failure to notify the rep is a procedural error.
good to know. What else are you told?
You're also informed of a significant legal right. You can have your own physician present at the exam.
Your own doctor can come watch.
Yes, at your own expense. It's codified in the law, 5 U.S.C. Section 8123. Your doctor can observe, ensure things are done fairly, though honestly not many claimants actually use this right.
Okay, and before the exam, OWCP sends that doctor the referral packet.
Correct. With the statement of accepted facts, the specific questions, and your medical records. This is why it's really important for you to make sure OWCP has all your latest medical reports before that packet goes out. You want the examiner to have the full, current picture.
That makes sense. Get your info in before they finalize the packet. So what about when you're actually in the exam room? What's your role? What should you do?
Cooperation is key. Your benefits can be suspended if you refuse the exam or obstruct it. So you need to attend and participate. Provide honest answers. Don't exaggerate your symptoms, but also don't downplay them. Make sure the doctor understands your pain, your limitations, how the injury affects you daily.
And if the doctor says something wrong during the exam?
If they misstate something you told them, or seem to misunderstand, politely clarify it right then and there. And it's incredibly wise to document everything about your experience immediately after.
Document what exactly?
Note down how long the exam actually lasted. What tests did they perform? Did they physically examine you? Record any weird remarks or questions. Also, consider bringing a trusted witness like a family member or friend. In many situations, they're allowed to quietly observe. Their account can be invaluable later if there's a dispute about what happened.
Okay, so cooperate, be honest but clear, correct misstatements, document everything, and maybe bring a witness. What happens after you leave? The doctor writes the report.
Right. The doctor prepares the written report and sends it directly to OWCP, not to you initially.
And then OWCP reviews it.
Yes. They check if all their questions were answered clearly and if the opinion is rationalized. If they need more info, they might go back to the doctor for clarification or addendum. Now, if the report supports changing your claim status, reducing or stopping benefits, for instance, OWCP doesn't just cut you off immediately.
Oh, what do they do?
They issue what's called a proposed decision. And they typically give you a set period, often 30 days, to respond before they make a final decision.
That response period sounds crucial.
It is absolutely critical. It's your first official window to fight back.
Okay, now this is a really interesting point you touched on. What if the OWCP doctor's report flat out disagrees with what your own treating doctor says? Is there a mechanism for that?
Yes. And this is huge.
Yep.
FECA actually anticipated this exact scenario. When there is a clear disagreement between the physician making the examination for the United States and the physician of the employee, that's the legal language. The law requires OWCP to step in.
Requires them to do what?
To appoint a third physician. This doctor is known as a referee or an impartial medical examiner. Their specific job is to resolve the conflict.
A tiebreaker, essentially.
Exactly. And the process for selecting these referee examiners is much stricter. They're chosen by a true rotation from a pre-approved roster of board-certified specialists. Neither you nor OWCP should influence the choice. That 2018 OIG audit found the referee selection process was working properly, by the way,
Okay.
and the referee's opinion. It's supposed to carry special weight precisely because they are impartial.
So how do you trigger this referee exam?
The conflict between your doctor's opinion and the OWCP doctor's opinion needs to be clear and substantial. It can't be minor. You, or more likely your representative, need to explicitly point out this conflict to OWCP in writing and formally request that referee exam. You have to insist on it. It's a powerful right.
So let's say you get that second opinion report and you truly believe it's inaccurate or biased or just plain unfair. You're not stuck, right? What are the main ways you can push back?
Absolutely not stuck. Your first and most important line of defense is to refute the report's conclusions with strong evidence.
Meaning what? More medical reports?
Often, yes. It usually means going back to your attending physician, or maybe getting another trusted specialist, to write a detailed rebuttal report. This rebuttal needs to systematically go through the second opinion findings, point out the errors, the inconsistencies, the things they missed, and crucially, it needs to provide further strong medical rationale to support your claim, your condition, your limitations.
And this rebuttal needs to be, what was the word? Rationalized.
Yes, extremely well rationalized. Because OWCP is going to weigh the two reports against each other. They'll look at the doctor's credentials, sure, but critically they look at the reasoning. And this is where that challenge comes in. Again, many excellent treating doctors just aren't used to writing these super detailed, evidence-heavy reports that OWCP expects.
So getting a good rebuttal is key.
Absolutely. And you need to submit that rebuttal, along with any other supporting evidence, to OWCP within that time frame they give you, usually that 30-day window after you get the report or the proposed action.
And if you have that clear medical disagreement, that conflict between your doctor and the OWCP doc,
Then, as we just discussed, you immediately request that referee exam. Put it in writing to your claims examiner. Specifically state, there is a conflict of medical opinion here between Dr. X and Dr. Y regarding specific issue, and pursuant to 5 U.S.C. Section 8123A, I request the appointment of an impartial referee examiner.
be explicit. Got it. Are there other angles? Like, if the process itself felt wrong?
Yes, procedural arguments can work. For instance, if OWCP didn't properly notify your representative about the exam, that's grounds to challenge it. Or if they told you something incorrect about your rights, like not mentioning you could bring your own doctor.
Okay.
Also, if you felt the doctor chosen was just inappropriate, wrong specialty, maybe located unreasonably far away, or if the doctor acted unprofessionally, showed clear bias during the exam. Document it and report it to OWCP in writing right away.
Okay. And finally, what if OWCP goes ahead and uses that second opinion report to make a bad decision, like cutting off your benefits? What are the formal appeal options then?
You have several formal routes. First, within 30 days of the decision, you can request either an oral hearing or a review of the written record by an OWCP hearing representative. Second, within 1 year, you can file for reconsideration directly with OWCP. This is a really important one because it allows you to submit new evidence. It's often the best place to get that strong rebuttal report officially into the record if you didn't have it ready earlier.
Okay. Hearing or reconsideration. Any others?
Yes. Third, you can appeal to the Employees Compensation Appeals Board, or ECCAP. You have 180 days for that. ECCAP is a separate, independent board. They review the case file for legal errors, and critically, they assess whether OWCP's decision was based on medical evidence that was sufficiently rationalized.
And ECCAT can overturn OWCP.
They absolutely can. ECCAP can reverse OWCP's decision or send the case back for more development if they find OWCP relied on weak or poorly reasoned medical opinions.
It really sounds like injured workers do have avenues, but man, you have to be proactive, informed, and persistent to effectively counter a bad report. So given how complicated and frankly stressful all this can be, what kind of expert help is out there for federal workers trying to deal with this?
Well, places like Restore Muscle and Joint, clinics that really specialize in federal workers' comp cases, they offer very specific, tailored support. A big part of it starts with just educating the patient, making sure you understand your rights, know what to expect, how to prepare.
Like knowing you can bring your own doctor.
Exactly. Knowing that, understanding OWCP's obligations, coaching you on how to handle the exam itself. Be truthful, but don't minimize. Be consistent with your history. Watch for red flags like, being asked to sign blank forms.
That seems really practical.
It is. And they encourage documenting everything like we discussed, and bringing that trusted witness is about preparation and empowerment.
Okay, that's before and during. What happens once that potentially problematic second opinion report actually arrives? How does a place like Restore help them?
Once the report is in hand, they'll help the patient review it carefully. They explain the medical jargon in plain English, help spot inaccuracies or areas where the report seems weak or incomplete. But more importantly, they guide the patient in putting together an effective response.
Which often involves that rebuttal report we talked about.
Precisely. They can work with the patient's own treating physician, or maybe one of Restore's own clinicians, if appropriate, to develop that well-rationalized rebuttal medical opinion. They bring their deep experience with OWCP's specific documentation standards. They might have staff who are medical pros deeply familiar with OWCP, or even former claims experts. They can actually coach physicians on how to write reports that meet OWCP's evidence requirements. It helps level that playing field we talked about.
Right, bridging that gap where a good treating doctor just might not know the OWCP game.
Exactly. And if a report seems really off the wall, truly biased or unprofessional, Restore helps the patient flag that to OWCP immediately.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned Restore's own clinicians. Can a place like Restore Muscle and Joint actually be a provider of unbiased second opinions themselves within this system?
Yes, that's another key aspect of what they aim to do. Restore positions itself as offering ethical, patient-first evaluations. It's sort of an alternative model. Their team has board-certified doctors, folks with years of experience in occupational medicine and OWCP compliance. The core idea is medical accuracy and compassion first. They actually take the time needed for a thorough evaluation, which might be much longer than those quick 15-minute exams we hear about from some OWCP contractors.
More in depth.
Definitely. And all their conclusions are backed by solid evidence, sound medical reasoning. It aligns with OWCP's standards for reporting, but without any kind of predetermined agenda. It's about documenting objective findings, honestly, not exaggerating, but also not downplaying the injury. That kind of balanced, evidence-based approach is what holds up best under scrutiny.
So they could potentially be selected by OWCP or maybe provide reports requested by the claimant.
Both are possibilities. By maintaining high qualifications and ethical standards, their doctors could be eligible for OWCP's directory. They can also serve as a resource if a patient wants their own independent medical evaluation, an IME, to submit to OWCP. A comprehensive report from them could potentially establish that conflict needed for a referee exam. Ultimately, their expertise in compliance ensures their documentation meets all those technical OWCP requirements, helping patients navigate the red tape.
So essentially, it sounds like Restore Muscle and Joint aims to be both a shield and a sword for injured federal workers, shielding them from pitfalls and providing the sword of credible medical evidence. We have definitely covered a lot of ground today on these OWCP second opinion exams. It's pretty clear they can be a major source of stress, maybe even conflict. But it's also clear that you, the injured federal employee, you are not without options.
Absolutely. Understanding your rights, knowing the process, and critically, having knowledgeable support, whether it's a good representative or a resource like Restore Muscle and Joint, it's all crucial for navigating this. The goal is to level that playing field, to make sure that the medical truth, not just, speed or cost cutting, is what drives the decisions on your claim. That really upholds the spirit of FECA, which, remember, says the process is not adversarial in nature.
Right. So what does our deep dive today suggest about just advocating for yourself? Advocating within any large, complex system when your own health and well-being are on the line. The journey can feel, well, pretty overwhelming. But being armed with knowledge and having the right allies means you can make sure your story, your medical reality, is properly heard and backed up. So maybe the final thought for you is, what's one step you could take now to become more informed or maybe more proactive in any system that